All right, we are live.
Okay, thank you. Welcome everyone to Carmel Unified School District Board of Education meeting June 24, 2020, 4:30 p.m. And welcome. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. And to do so, we need to establish a quorum. Tricia,
Board President Carl Pastrini,
present.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver,
Yes, here.
Board Member Tess Arthur,
Yes.
Board Member Annette Eastek.
Here.
Okay, thank you. We have done that. And I think we're going to go ahead and move to closed session. We can adopt the official agenda when we open. Could really do it either way, but I think we'll just go ahead to closed. And public comments on closed session items will be read at this time. All proceedings are reported to the public in open session where action is taken or staff direction is given. So are there any public comments on closed session?
There is. So there is one closed session public comment from Vibeke Norgard, parent, regarding 2B negotiations with unrepresented potential employee, district negotiator Carl Pastrini, board president, position candidate for interim superintendent. Dear CUSD board, please be sure that the community is included in any decision to hire a superintendent for our school district. To the extent your closed session tonight is regarding whether to appoint the interim superintendent permanently, this is an improper subject for a closed session, as was done previously. Please have an open session on the subject that allows the community input. Thanks.
So noted. Okay. Any others?
No other public comments for closed.
Okay. Well,
Carl, actually,
yeah.
before we go to closed, should we be reading the closed session agenda out
Well, I'm
loud?
going to do that next.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just waiting to see if there were any more letters read. That was it. Okay. Of course, we read the agenda. You ready? Today's closed session agenda does include the following: public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code 54957, and that is acting superintendent. Item B, negotiations with unrepresented potential employee. District negotiator is Carl Pastrini, board president, and the position is candidate for interim superintendent. And number C, public employee appointment, interim superintendent. And at this point, these discussion items, as I have stated, we will take into closed, and we will now move to closed session. Okay, thank you.
Hey, Carl. I think Sarah's sending you a separate link. Carl, you're on mute.
Unmute. Is that better? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome, community, those that are watching tonight's board meeting. And we are returning from closed session, and the board has taken no action in closed session. So that being the case, we're going to go ahead and move to open session. We're reconvening, and we would now need a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
So moved.
And seconded.
Second.
Okay, Tricia.
Board President Carl Palestrini,
Yes.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines.
She's still joining.
Yeah. Board
We have a
Member
couple.
Annette Eastek,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and move forward with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I believe Mr. Weaver can help us with that. Todd?
Sure. And due to the lag, I'll just crank through it as well.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Todd. The audience is notified that the open session is audio taped and available for you to retrieve at your pleasure. Item E, we are now going to hear from the board, superintendents, committee representatives, student reps, which we don't have because it's summer, ACT, Association of Carmel Teachers, and California School Employees Association reps. And this is regarding routine status and campus activities, which there are none, but routine status. Anything that the board chooses to share at this particular point in time. Let's go ahead and start with Annette.
Thanks. As the board's rep to Community Human Services, I attended their monthly meeting as well as their board retreat, which was kind of back to back with that. And they continued to make progress in terms of their homeless homeless shelter for women and families. It's the first one that's being built on the peninsula. So that is a big thrust of this next year for that particular entity. And the homeless shelters for the teens and young adults that is also part of the program they have been really oversubscribed. I think they are really trying hard to keep the young people indoors as much as possible and also watched over because of the COVID-19 crisis, because people are much more vulnerable to catching the coronavirus when they are sleeping outdoors, et cetera. So it has become a huge deal, and trying to make sure that these kids and young adults are not getting coronavirus. And we've been lucky so far. No one that we have had in our shelters has proven to be tested positive, but they are, they have testing regimes, et cetera. And that's something that they're trying to get out even to the homeless population that are not in our shelters, to make sure that they are covered by the services that we provide, to make sure that it doesn't create a spread in our community among them, but also among the population in general. And that's it.
Thank you. Tess.
Thank you, Carl.
Mhm.
I was going to start with something positive that's been a real bright spot for me. And again, it's our food bank that we still are doing every Wednesday and Thursday at Carmel Middle School, and highlight our team. But in light of just current affairs, it just feels to me that the level of anxiety and the frustration and the distrust is off the charts right now in our district, not only in our district, but nation and worldwide. And I just want to say, I know that our administrators, ACT, and district staff are working tirelessly to ensure the health and safety of our students and staff as we implement a plan moving forward. And I want to assure the public that we are doing the best that we can. They are working diligently to fully reopen, given the county and state orders that are constantly changing. And I just have 100% faith in the leadership of our superintendent to navigate these rough waters and develop a collaborative plan, taking into account the myriad of input from our stakeholders. And trust me, this is no easy task. This feels like a no-win situation, no matter what we do. And of course, the goal is to fully reopen, but safety for our students and staff is our primary concern. And no matter what decisions we make, we are in the middle of a global pandemic. And I just want everyone to take a step back. Many will not be happy with the outcome, no matter what we decide. And this is something we have to live with. And I just want to ask the public for your patience, your grace, and your support as we move through this impossible situation. And just please remember that we are better together than we are apart. So that's all I wanted to say.
That's quite a bit. Very, very good. Sarah, are you there? Is she back?
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. I well said, Tess.
Really?
And since the school year has ended and it's been a few weeks since our last board meeting, I also, like Tess, wanted to take a moment to share some observations with you all and really to say thank you for the many ways each of our administrators, teachers, staff, and parents have been contributing to the ongoing goal in providing the best education for our students. As I reflect on all these changes that have occurred since March when school closures were announced, I've been struck really by three things. Number one is how the heart of our administrators, staff, and teachers is always in the right place, even when the only constant has been change in these past few months. And I'm struck how collaborative they've all been in moving forward with the plans, despite all of the uphill battles and change in leadership. And secondly, throughout this time of constant change, I have seen the collaborative work done with the development of curriculum and growing efforts of our faculty to advance their own teaching, supporting their colleagues, and laser beam focus on making the best decisions to support the ongoing education of our students at all grade levels. And this makes me so thankful to you all, and I appreciate you all for having this perspective. And thirdly, I have personally been a part of some very thoughtful and collaborative work with our parent community and committee, which Tricia Dellis is getting underway still. There have been some tough discussions, tough questions, and tough answers. And I'm thankful our parents have a voice. And I also echo the sentiments that I appreciate their patience and their belief in what we're doing. So please know that we are not only hearing you, we are listening intently and trying to work with you. I have also personally witnessed the virtues of Tricia Dellis in bringing stakeholder groups together during this time and helping to lead the efforts to produce plans and procedures to ensure the safety of our staff and students. And the last thing I want to say this evening is, as a board member, I've been able to observe more than ever from a close range of what goes on behind the scenes in a district. And I believe with my whole heart, we have the right leadership and the right teams to provide the best plans for the fall and beyond. For those that know me well, know my deep commitment to this district, our teachers, and our administrators. And to everyone out there tonight and beyond who is engaging in this effort, I'd like to let you know that the more I venture down into this journey, the more admirable you are all to me, and I thank you. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for being here this evening. I know it's a very important meeting for us, and I would also like to thank you in advance for your attendance of the town hall tomorrow night, which will be a collaborative discussion that I'm very much looking forward to.
Thank you. Well said. Todd?
Great. Well, thank you. Thanks, Carl. Obviously, the number one topic for me is what does next year going to look like? I am happy to report in all of the information I've been able to get and share with the superintendent and the AC that they are working on this every moment of every day. And I'm very happy to see that, because it allows me to have a little more comfort in knowing that next year is going to be putting the best plan forward. The one thing I think might help, because there's been some discussion around this board meeting and what the agenda actually is set. So I'm going to take my time to kind of share so that the way the public can be most effective. The board meeting's agenda clearly does not address what the plan is for next year, right? So if people are expecting the agenda to share that, it does not. The next sort of steps to be most effective is obviously the open session today. You're allowed to share your thoughts on what that looks like, what you'd like to see as the topics you'd like to address. And then obviously tomorrow we have a town hall, which is obviously has an awful lot of people who've already registered as well. The follow-on steps to that are then the AC puts together what that plan looks like and can involve the community, and then presents that to the board for discussion and voting. So I wanted to make sure that setting expectation appropriately, because obviously there's an awful lot of other items on the agenda that we have to get through. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you. Okay. I think that what you've heard is really very well stated, and we do have a really smooth operating team addressing these concerns, and there's just no playbook for it. I think no matter what we do, there's going to be an issue with somebody about whether it's enough or not enough. So I did put a couple of thoughts down, as I have been in receipt of a number of phone calls regarding the opening of our schools. We are also in receipt of emails expressing a variety of opinions as to how we move forward. I have found phone conversations particularly valuable as they have been measured, insightful, and fair. I encourage you to continue to do that as a community. You have every right to call your board members and express your thinking. And I don't know if that's happened as much as it should. I think tomorrow night's meeting is critical to the next step. The town hall. The purpose of that town hall is to bring you up completely up to date with where we are, what we're doing, and why we have reached those conclusions on a multifaceted approach to all of the factors that are involved. And I think it's paramount that as many people watch that as possible, and encourage people that that are struggling with these issues, and they're very viable issues. What are the kids going to do? What is the daycare going to look like? What kind of an education can we provide? On and on and on. And they're all extremely valid points, which quite frankly are weighing on us very heavily as a board. So I think we can do this. It's going to take some compromise. It's going to take some understanding. But I think also it has to do with the number of quality options that we can present to the community. And that's what we will be doing tomorrow night at the town hall. And that is a place where hopefully you can submit your questions, hard as they may be. And we do have a capable and comprehensive staff involved in addressing all of those kinds of things. So that's a key piece tomorrow night. A second item for me is the Padre at Carmel High School. And the upside is I've heard from over 500 students that I have had as students, and it's been delightful listening to their opinions, their thoughts, and current thinking today on the Padre. And for them, I have responded to the alumni and group websites advocating for the removal of the Padre as the mascot at Carmel High School. I provided the websites, the two key websites, with a process that is outlined in Board Policy 7310 about naming the facilities and criteria of such that has to do with buildings in the Carmel Unified School District. By the way, our board policies are on our website and the homepage. So 7310 is the one that we would have to use as a Board of Education to help sort out some of the traffic on that. Along with that would have to be the principal at Carmel High School, who I have yet to even open a discussion with, because quite frankly, opening school has trumped the Padre at this particular point in time. We're going to get to the Padre. You know, with all that's going on, I would like to be able to say and do more with all of the interest in that mascot. It's not the first time we've had interest in the mascot at Carmel High. It's a 79-year-old mascot. So I'm going to ask the students and parents, a lot of parents, to stand by while we get the schools open. And that's job one. Let us do that. I'll be meeting with John Lyons at the high school. I'll be meeting with district office staff, and we will come together. The policy does mandate a citizen advisory committee to do something like that. So there is a process to do it. And I think that's what I'm here to tell you. And it's not going to go too far onto the back burner, but we do have to marshal all of our resources in one direction right now, and that's opening school. So I hear you. It's been wonderful. I mean, the articulate letters that we're getting, some of them are from individuals that don't want to be a part of a website that's doing it. And many of them, of course, are on websites. And then we're getting them, as you know, directly from former students in the community to the board. I would say this. We are archiving the information. And if you really want, the best way to archive it is to send it in the form of a letter. I got 2 or 3 letters today. We've all got them that have to do with addressing the board through the website. And that's the easiest way for us to get your opinion on this. The websites have a lot of interesting conversations, but we have no way of really archiving that or tracking it. So it's a big deal. I mean, it's the most involvement I've seen in any single issue in Carmel since I have been here in all of these years. So it's important. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, tomorrow night, let's get that done. Tricia, are you there?
Carl?
Yes.
Carl, actually, before we go to Tricia, can I just add something?
Sure.
Okay. I just wanted to say, first of all, when you, I had actually a question before I had my other comment. When you say send a letter to the board, is it best for them, do you think, to do email?
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah.
what I meant. Excuse
Right,
me.
email.
I'm dating myself. Yeah.
No, I'm just making sure, because you don't have to send us a hard copy. If you want to send us an email
Oh,
to our emails from our website. And then just back on the topic of reopening school, I just wanted to add that the calls and communication that I've been receiving have been on the order of that many people seem to think that we really have already made a decision and we just haven't communicated that out yet. And I just wanted to add that we have not made a decision at all. And in fact, are really trying hard to take in all of the information that we've been gathering, information from all of the various stakeholders. And I just wanted to stress that this town hall meeting is not only to convey information to the public, but also we really want to hear from the public. And there is nothing that is set in stone at this point. And I think people have, had the idea that somehow we have, and I will speak very clearly that we have not made a decision yet, and that we want all of you to be a part of it. And that's all I wanted to add. Thanks so much for letting me have 2 bites at that apple.
Yes, and it's really important. The board, the process is in the hands of the administration, and the board is the body that approves the recommendations, but those recommendations have to be done with public input. And Annette makes a good point. We are not in a position to tell you much of anything as a board right now until we hear the formal proposals for action. So it's a good point. So Tricia, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you would be next.
Good evening. I'm not going to belabor any of the points that I believe everyone's heard what they need to hear, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow night and hearing from all of you in the community. Looking forward to working with you, and I'm trying to reach out to as many of you as I can, so bear with me on the phone calls.
That's it? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move to our representatives. We'll start with the ACT, Association of Carmel Teachers. Bill Schreier, available?
Yes, good evening, Bill Schreier, president of
Okay.
ACT.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, boy, I really long for the days when a midsummer meeting of the Carmel Unified District School Board was so lightly attended, where there was no interest. And boy, hopefully someday we'll get back to that. I want to start by addressing the board and thanking them for their work in these extremely difficult times. I've had conversations with many of you. I know the pressure that you're under. I know none of you signed on for this. And I really appreciate, and on behalf of the association, we appreciate your efforts in trying to navigate this morass. So thank you. Next, I want to talk about ACT's relationship with the administration. It has never been stronger than it is right now. I've been the president of the association for 5 years, and this is the first time that I feel like we have a true partnership and are working collaboratively to do what's best for our students. I am in constant contact with the superintendent several times a day, trying to come up collaboratively with answers and supporting her and what have you. So thank you, Tricia, for your leadership. Now, some in the community seem to doubt that. There's a suggestion that maybe we're not partners, we're not interested in finding solutions. Just yesterday, one of my colleagues forwarded me a message from a parent claiming that the only thing preventing CUSD from opening was CUSD itself. That if we really wanted to, we could open with no restrictions, save for having everyone wear a mask. I saw this and I read it. The person claimed to have gotten that info from the county health department. And they claimed that the county health department had communicated that information to CUSD. Again, that we are the only thing standing in the way of a full reopen with no restrictions. My colleague asked me, Bill, is that true? Well, my immediate answer was no. But then I thought I better run this to ground because this is important stuff. So I called Tricia and I asked her, did the county tell you that CUSD could open without restriction? Answer, no. So then I called the county. I spoke to Karen Smith, who is the public information officer for the Monterey County Health Department. I asked her, did you or anyone else tell Carmel Unified that they could open without restriction? Answer, of course not. Then I asked, well, can we? No. You have to follow federal and state guidelines. So the claim that the only thing standing us in a full reopen without restrictions is false. People need to know that. Now, I've been very, very concerned about the safety issue. Obviously, it's a negotiable item under the Ed Code, and we have to worry as teachers about the safety of our students. It's part of the California Standards for the Teaching Profession. Safety is job one. And I know every year at the beginning of the year, teachers are given lists of students who have serious health conditions. And so I inquired of our district nurse, how many students do we have this year with health issues that put them at greater risk for severe complications from COVID-19? Answer, 167. We have 167 students in this district who are at risk for severe complications should they become sick from COVID-19. If we just throw caution to the wind, they will be at risk. And as teachers, we cannot stand by and let that happen. And I know the board wouldn't do that. I know the administration wouldn't do that. Now, I really appreciated hearing board members say the things that they said. Tess, we are in the biggest crisis of our lives. There's no exception. and we have enormous problems to solve, and no solution is going to please everyone. I mean, I don't think anybody believes that. Everybody's going to be disappointed. We can choose to cooperate and choose conflict, but our goal is to keep students safe and provide the best possible education we can under the circumstances. And everyone that knows, the teachers in this district, knows in their heart of hearts that that is true. That's who we are. It's not just me saying it. I hope that the people who agree that safety is paramount, that we don't seem to from, or at least I'm not hearing from, speak up. The time for silence is over. We need to hear your voices. Maybe you've never said anything at a school board meeting, but now is the time to show up and be heard. And I'm going to be there at that town hall meeting tomorrow night. I want to do what I can to support this endeavor. You all know that. My colleagues do. And let's get this done and stop pulling each other apart. Thank you.
Carl, you are muted.
Myself. There we go. We're going to move to CSEA. Do we have a representative, Bud Libby, tonight or not?
It doesn't look like we have a CSE rep.
We don't, but I want to say one thing before we move away from the CSEA. There is one person that really needs a ton of recognition for a job well done at this point, and that is the administrative assistant to the acting superintendent, Tricia Zarovich. She is the point person for just about everything that is going on, and it's Tricia, I need this. Tricia, I need that. Where's this? Where's that? On and on, fielding calls, returning emails. It's overwhelming. It really is. And I tip my hat to her for being able to do this. And I've spoken to her at the strangest hours of the evening or the weekends, if necessary. And she's always there. So, Tricia, well done. I want you to know that. Okay, at this point, we will go ahead to our regular agenda. And we've done the comments. We are going to go to public comments, which will be read into the record. That would be Tricia.
Okay, so get your blankies out because we're going to be here for a little bit. I have several. I did group them by, to make it easier to keep them all together, by reopening of schools, the emails that I received regarding that. And then I grouped them into the next section, which would be the mascot conversation. And then there was a miscellaneous one that will be at the end. So here's what I have so far. Stacy Profeta, parent. I'm wondering if it might be possible to do 3 tracks of school. 1, back full time. 2, hybrid. And 3, distance learning at the 3 options, and let families opt in for which option works best for their family. That way, teachers who are concerned about going back could opt into distance learning, and the 3 groups of teachers and students could be decided now versus waiting. I understand this might be challenging in figuring busing for full-time and hybrid, but it would certainly make for less students on campus and an option for parents who both need to work full-time. Sebastian Miller, parent. Distance learning was an abject failure for my 1st and 3rd grade students at River School. I have not heard from a single parent who had a positive experience with the district's at-home educational offerings. Even if changes are made around the margins, a return to distance learning in the fall or even a hybrid model will deliver minimal educational and social value. Children and their parents will continue to suffer. We should be spending the next 6 weeks moving heaven and earth to try to return full-time in-person school in the fall, at least at elementary school level. I would be shocked if more than a handful of parents disagree with the sentiment. River School has the space to accommodate all our students on campus while still respecting social distancing. Since most hallways are covered and shaded, they can already serve as a place for outdoor learning. There are many grassy spaces adjacent to classrooms that could easily be transformed into dedicated instructional areas. We also have a large gym where dozens of kids could sit 6 or more feet apart during presentations. It would not take a Mensa member to create a schedule that rotated all of our students among traditional classroom learning, outdoor learning, lunch, snack, and PE classes in a way that ensured social distancing over a course of a normal school day. If concerns about transmitting COVID require the school to put greater emphasis on PE or similar outdoor activities, then so be it. Surely parents who would otherwise be babysitting their young kids all day, every day, would be willing to volunteer thousands of hours to make full-time school happen, serving as aides or helping out in other conceivable ways. It appears the board and interim superintendent have written this option off without seriously looking into it. This is a disgrace and a failure of leadership. The California Constitution mandates that children receive about 175 instructional school days per year. Our children have not had a single instructional day since River School was shut down in March, and current proposals for 2020 and beyond will come far short of the constitutional minimum. Please reconsider what appears to be lazy and callous decision to abandon a normal school schedule. This will deny our children their fundamental right to education and create a generation of angry and isolated young truants who are spending way too much time with their parents and siblings. John Goody, parent, and I'm sorry if I mutilate names. I would like to understand what the timeline for providing secondary and tertiary plans for 2021 school year if there is a spike in COVID cases and we need to pivot from whatever plan is in place to start the year. My concern is that we end up back in the place we ended 2019-20, which would be unacceptable. Jan Rain, parent. Does my child have the option to work remotely 100%? I do not agree with the 6-foot rule being as much as possible. It is not sufficient to avoid transmission of COVID. I foresee the 6-foot guideline not being enforced, especially entering and exiting classrooms. One student in and out at a time might work for classroom traffic. In hallways, also, you would need directional paths. Returning to school is a risk for my child's health, in my opinion. I'm not seeing regulations enforced by Monterey County. Still, I would like the option of 100% remote attendance for my child. Do not want to return to campus. How will you enforce the 6-foot rule? Lisa Hansen, parent. Dear board members, we are new to Carmel from Los Gatos, and our 2 children are registered now at CHS and CMS to begin in the fall. Without knowing anyone in their grades, it'll be imperative for their emotional and academic well-being to be able to meet students and teachers in person, be instructed in person, and to participate in sports. Please open CUSD schools for full-time instruction on campus, including fall sports. Please also have a new student orientation, no matter what the instruction status becomes, so we can meet other families in the district. The social emotional health of new students depends on it. At a minimum, we must have at least partial on-campus instruction each week, with family members aligned on the same day as mandatory part of that scheduling. And please open fall sports. It is crucial to have sports. Incidentally, Los Gatos High has already begun football conditioning for their fall team. Thank you for your consideration. Siri Ukland, parent. The schools need to open fully in August. Monterey County went into stage 2.5 on May 30th, which allowed for schools to reopen with modifications. I'd like to see the evidence that Monterey County is preventing CUSD from opening. Jenny Panziera, parent. What are the main barriers to supporting full-time in-person school with county and state guidelines? What does CUSD need in order to make a full-time in-person school an option for fall? What can CUSD parents do to support the district in pursuing this as an option for fall? Is CUSD communicating with any other districts about full-time in-person models, i.e. Marin School District, or exploring creative ways to support this option? Will you survey parents to see how many are in favor of full-time in-person option for fall and share the results? Nyla Gallagher, parent. Please add full-time school to our options and re-give the survey. I have filled out the survey and responded to the choices given, but my children really need to be back into school full-time, not only their academic success, but for their social, emotional, and physical well-being. Sarah Starsevich Miller. The California Constitution guarantees each child the right to receive an education. It is a fundamental right, and not even a pandemic suspends. Courts have consistently recognized that this right to receive an education means the right to actually learn. Students are entitled to a system that gives the substantive knowledge and teaches them skills they need to succeed. Carmel Unified cannot satisfy its legal duty to educate by simply checking the box on some minimum number of Zoom calls or worksheets. A program does not result in children learning is not an education within the meaning of the law. I think every parent of elementary students who lived through the last 4 months, and probably every teacher too, saw what a complete and utter failure distance learning was for our children. Tellingly, the district did not even bother assessing student progress during or after. I'm not blaming the teachers. Zoom just isn't an effective way to teach a 6-year-old. This shouldn't come as a surprise. The education code is hundreds of pages long with strict, detailed provisions about things like minimum instruction times, in-person attendance requirements, because everyone, educators, legislators, administrators, parents, know those things are crucial to student learning. Kids need to be in the classroom with a teacher 5 days a week, and Carmel has the financial resources and physical space necessary to offer that. It can fully reopen while also complying with existing state and county guidelines. Dr. Moreno is not standing in Carmel's way. Many other districts, including Marin, Fresno, and San Diego, have figured it out and have guaranteed full-time on-campus school to all who want it this fall. Carmel students are entitled to the same, and there is no compelling reason why Carmel cannot provide it. If the board chooses to move forward with either full-time or part-time distance learning for elementary school instead of fully reopening, it will be knowingly approving a grossly inadequate program and turning a blind eye on its duty to educate our children. If doing what is right for our kids is not enough to convince the board, as reviews plans and union contracts in the coming weeks, I would remind the board of its duties to taxpayers and the law prohibiting the expenditure of public funds to administer or implement an unconstitutional system of public education. I know that these are difficult times and your predecessors did not leave you a detailed playbook. But what we're asking for, full-time on-campus learning, is not impossible. No more excuses. Please rise to the occasion and put students first. Jill Martin, parent. The 3 options chosen by parent of the school children should be as follows. 1, distance learning. 2, hybrid. 3, back to school full-time in person, masks, temps taken, alcohol wipes, outdoor classes when an option. The county has given a green light and the CUSD board should be sending out these options for parents so the school is able to get ready for the August 11th start date. It makes it absolutely no sense about a week on and a week off, or 2 days on and 3 days off, or every other day for 2 days, etc. The virus is out there and not going away, so options presented will not be different than going back full time. You will be exposed if you go one day and not the next if it is out there, and we all just need to do what's comfortable for our families. The schools should have the option of full-time in person so they're able to get ready for those that will be attending in full-time. They also should be looking into live streaming the classes for those that'll be continuing distance learning from home. There are emergency funds for this sort of equipment to be purchased. Bahar Iran Manish, parent. CUSD needs to be transparent as to why we cannot go back full-time. The hybrid approach is going back to on alternate days, 2 days on, 2 days off, or alternate weeks does not reduce the risk of contacting the virus. If anything, it impacts learning momentum. Our children depend on our schools and teachers for growth, stability, support, and socialization. Teachers are essential as anyone else that is currently working daily and deemed essential. If teachers are not willing to come back full-time, then teachers need to be brought in to take their place. There are safety measures that can be taken by all to mitigate risk of exposure. CUSD has the resources to allow for safe opening of schools. The risk to our children's social and emotional well-being outweighs the risk of COVID-19. Your goal as elected officials and administration funded by our taxes should be to get our children back into school full-time. That should be your primary focus and a job at this time. Other districts from Palo Alto to Tracy have provided plans to get children back into school full-time with options like live streaming for parents who might be uneasy with sending their kids back. Obviously, the pandemic situation is fluid and subject to change, but getting our kids back into school full-time in the fall should be the ultimate goal. We have been asking you since the second packet distribution to provide a plan for the upcoming year. Where is the plan? We are a small community full of educated and subject matter experts who have offered to help, yet no steering committee or task force was ever formed aside from a couple of concerned parents who have been tirelessly trying to get through to you. Our children are our future and depend on you to do the right thing. And the right thing is to open up our schools full time. Krista Oestoich, parent. Dear board members of the board, thank you for your commitment to providing the students of CUSD the full and complete education they're legally entitled to. That is why you were each put onto the board, and I know that you will do your very best to ask the hard questions necessary of CUSD staff to ensure that the students, which are the sole reason we fund our schools, are the #1 priority. I'm concerned that CUSD is sending false and misleading information to the community as to the status of Monterey County health orders as a way of not having to actually answer the questions regarding why a full-time return to campuses is not viable. Yesterday, the acting superintendent sent out a message to the parents stating, having students to return to the classroom full-time is our top priority, and understandably, there have been questions about why we have not presented the option for CUSD to return to campus full-time. With current Monterey County health restrictions, this is not a viable option at this time. After reading this email, I contacted the Monterey County Health Department to learn what restrictions was so onerous that it prevented Monterey County schools from reopening full-time. Monterey County Health Department told me that Monterey County is completely aligned with the state and that the Monterey County does not have the additional restrictions on school reopening. I understand that CUSD may not be able to potentially open all of its sites based on total numbers of students returning, but it's very clear that CUSD hasn't even tried to gather that information and does not know the actual number of students intending to return to each campus. If returning full-time to the classroom is really your top priority, why are you telling us that the county's regulations make it non-viable when the county itself says it's fully aligned with state and has no other restrictions or requirements? If returning full-time to the classroom is not CUSD's top priority, please tell community the real reason why it's not a priority and do not simply scapegoat the County Department of Health. Megan Escher, parent. Carmel Unified School District mission. The Carmel Unified School District community produces lifelong learners who are prepared for challenges of higher education, the workplace, and their role as citizens of an ever-changing global community. I implore the Board of Education to stay true to the mission of CUSD and get our schools reopened, that the children back learning. With the physical size of school campus with significant outdoor space, as well as libraries, cafeterias, theaters, fields, quads, etc., there is no reason cannot find solutions to accommodate students in face-to-face learning. Of course, high standards for health and safety for students and faculty must be met with procuring of PPE, masks, visors, plexiglass shields, portable classrooms, tents, etc. Our teachers and administrators are well compensated between 34% and 47%, more than similar sized districts according to the 2018-19 SARC report, and CUSD's teachers are paid more than local private school teachers. Those schools are slated to reopen. We need them to dig deeper, think creatively, be transparent on what obstacles are, collaborate with parents and your tax-paying community on finding actionable and executable solutions to reopen schools. Spring 2020 CUSD distance learning was not teaching and not serving our students development, engagement, and growth academically or emotionally. It will not be tolerated for 2021 school year. I ask every one of you, anyone associated with our students in any way, every teacher, every administrator, every board member, why did you choose this path in education? If the answer is currently not to have the opportunity to profoundly impact the lives of children, you need to reassess your intention and commitment to CUSD. When we need leaders who are effective and decisive and hold the teams of CUSD accountable. With a global pandemic, the quest for racial injustice and political unrest, these are generationally defining times. Now more than ever, we need our students engaged academically and socially to learn tools to think, absorb, process, debate, define, craft, create, learn, solve, engage, and grow. The education of Carmel Unified students is vital to the future of who we will be as a society. When you look yourself in the eye tonight or in 20 years' time, will you be able to say you did contribute to solving the educational catastrophe of 2020? The board must ensure Carmel Unified students get back to a learning environment on campus so that they may be lifelong learners who are prepared for challenges of higher education, the workplace, and their role as citizen for an ever-changing global community. Monica Graham, parent. In accordance with many public and private schools throughout California, we absolutely need students to go back to school full-time. It is critical for their mental health, maintaining high academic excellence, enabling parents to effectively go back to work. With all of the land that CUSD has, why can't you put up temporary classrooms to abide by social distancing guidelines? Vibeke Norgard, parent. I'm writing to you as a parent of two school-age children, one at River, one formerly at River and Carmel Middle. There has been much outrage in the community about the recent survey and your decision not to open schools full-time in the fall, in spite of loosening up the shelter-in-place orders both in Monterey County and the state level. In various emails parents have received from you, we have been informed 4 reasons why you decide not to provide our children full-time education for this fall. 1, because everyone needs to keep 6 feet of distance as much as practical. Because for most of our classrooms, this limits class size to approximately 12 students at a time. 3, staff and students need to have temperature checks before entering campus each day. 4, you've also mentioned with current Monterey County health restrictions, returning full-time is not a viable option at this time. While the last reason you provide appears to be incorrect, I'd like to respectively suggest that the other 3 reasons you have raised are not insurmountable problems. Other districts and local private schools have announced that they'll open full-time this fall. You could follow their lead. For example, you could utilize larger buildings as learning spaces, including theaters, multi-purpose rooms, libraries, and gyms, as well as our school's beautiful outdoor space. You could lease or purchase tents. You could hire additional teachers, use assistant teachers to alternate in classrooms. Alternatively, you could require that teachers extend their workday to allow the day to be broken into 2 student groups, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Our teachers union should agree to such change in light of these extraordinary circumstances. But the first step is for you to direct the interim superintendent to ask it of them. Please, at this meeting, provide us with the analysis that you use to decide to not provide full-time education to our children. At least explain to us why you found that full-time schooling is not feasible, because what we've heard from you does not add up. Also, please explain to us why Friday appears to have fallen off the work week, as it was not part of the option on the survey. Do our teachers now only work 4 days a week? If so, are they still being paid for 5? Finally, please realize that you are decision makers here. This is your decision, not that all of the teachers unions or not that of the teachers union or the interim superintendent. Despite the fluctuating circumstances associated with COVID-19, some thoughtful and responsive plans I'm confident you can develop A couple of these are over the limit. Do you want me to proceed?
I would.
Okay. To develop a plan that continues to educate our children with full-time in-class learning in the fall and a solid plan to full-time online learning if circumstances change. What we saw this spring, which in my child's case was less than an hour a day of non-academic or barely academic Zoom sessions, followed by school ending a week early for unclear reasons, was unacceptable, as would be a 2-day-a-week schedule. Thank you for your time and commitment to CUSD. Jill Lewis, parent. 3 months ago, we were fighting the county for testing and tracing sites to fight COVID-19. And today we're fighting our school boards to open schools. The last 3 months were very hard for local parents and even harder for local children. No one wanted a policy of herd immunity, but here we are. Staying home does not stop the virus. Only a policy of testing and tracing does. And now it's even too late for that. 86% of Monterey Peninsula Unified School District MPUSD parents responded to a district survey this month saying that they wanted their kids back into school full time. That is not surprising, seeing that 30% of Monterey County are single parent households. Parents cannot afford not to work and have children home. What will happen to those little kids? Will they be left home alone when they have no school? What choice do the parents have? In Carmel Unified School District, CUSD passed out a survey this June giving parents a chance to rate their top choice for school's August 2020 return. The survey allowed for parents to pick all distance learning or a 20 or 50% in-school instruction. There was no option for full-time and in-person schooling. With no full-time option, parents were outraged and started a change.org petition, and it has the link. On June 21st, in 3 days, it had over 515 signatures and continues to grow. CUSD Superintendent Tricia Dellis sent an email in response to the change.org petition and said, having students return to the classroom full-time is our top priority, and understandably, there has been questions about why we have not presented the option for CUSD to return to school campuses full-time. With current Monterey County health restrictions, this is not a viable option at this time. The county claims it's not true, and Ed Moreno said that CUSD must follow California state guidelines, nothing more. Schools all over the state following the same regulations plan to open full-time. That list includes, but not limited to, Palo Alto School District, Dublin School District, Marin School District, Tracy School District. Schools have COVID-19 safety measures in place, aligned to state guidelines, and gives distance learning options to those that need them. I myself am a mother of 3 children in CUSD. To think that I would be expected to teach 3 kids in kindergarten, 2nd, and 4th grade at home is absurd. I tried for 3 months to do this and ran from one child to the other, trying to get one on Zoom, one out from hiding under the table, and another to stop coloring on the walls. I lasted about 2 hours a day and quit every day feeling like a total failure. My kids and I utterly depressed. The county and school boards must think of a single parent household and low-income families. Allowing schools to stay closed part-time will further depress the county's children, who already must recover from the PTSD of being alone and uneducated for months. Do not take thousands of children away from one place that gives them opportunities to succeed in life. The future of our county depends on education of our children. Now we'll go into the next section, which is the Carmel High School mascot. So Noelle Mossoff Smith, CHS alumni parent, MPUSD high school teacher. I, along with my sister Rachel Mosloff and friend Evelyn LaValle, all CHS grads, started a petition to replace the CHS Padre. Since public comments are limited to 3 minutes, I will not repeat the entire letter I've already sent to the board. I would like to reiterate that schools should be a place where all students feel welcomed and supported, whatever their ethnicity, religion, or sexuality. I firmly believe the Padre, as a historically loaded religious figure, has no place in public school. Over 800 community members, CHS students, and alumni have signed the petition to replace the Padre. Mr. Palestrini has been responsive to our communications, and I urge the board to start assembling an advisory committee to be transparent and expedited manner. We look forward to open-minded communications and debate. Thank you much for your time. Terry Mosloff, alumni and parent. Regarding the petition and movement to remove and replace Padre as a mascot, symbols mean a lot in this day and age. And though my dad, George Mosloff, may have been a coach of said Padres, his personal practice ran to fairness and equality. Every kid got to participate in the game regardless of skill level. Times have changed, and a fresh look at history is a good thing. The Carmel area can certainly afford to give up an outdated and an inappropriate moniker. Lana Richards, former student. I would like to add my support to the petition to change the Padre mascot. Given our contemporary context and understanding of colonialist mission system, it is deeply unsettling that a high school mascot is a symbol of mass genocide and enslavement of Native people. It is also a male figure in which inherently excludes the women's sports teams it represents, and is a traditionally religious figure at public secular high school. If Stanford, Dartmouth, University of Massachusetts, and more large institutions counting on alumni loyalty for financial stability were able to change their mascots in the 70s and 80s, then a small publicly funded high school can do it now. It's time to catch up to the times and show all students that school has their back. As an alumni, my memories and experiences at CHS will not be erased if the mascot is changed, as some think will happen. If anything, I will be more proud of my school if this change is made. There are so many remarkable animals unique to Carmel that would be better represent the community without excluding on the basis of religion or gender. Allow current students to vote on a new mascot as they did back when the Padre was chosen. We cannot change the past, but we can change the future. This is a wonderful step in the right direction. Dustin Ponko, community member. The current mascot for Carmel High School represents a history of colonialism and genocide of local indigenous groups. It is also symbolically religious, which is questionable in regard to the school being a public institution. Please consider a replacement mascot that does not casually depict a history of oppression and to local indigenous people. Christopher Solinger, alumni and parent. Change the school mascot from Padres to something that does not reference a practice of genocide and cultural erasure. Rachel Short, community member and alumni. I know that you probably have plenty to worry about, and the last thing you want to deal with is people getting upset over a mascot, but this has been ongoing conversation for decades. I feel that having the Padre as a public school mascot is inappropriate, is a religious figure. The mascot of a high school should never make someone feel uncomfortable or not included. I understand it has been the mascot for 80 years and people are resistant to change, but not all change is bad, and the time is now to step forward and do something about this. We are living in a different world than we did 80 years ago, and we're learning from our mistakes of the past. I hope we can set a good example for the future and do what is right by changing the mascot. Gabe Rosen, alumni and community member. Dear CUSD board, I'm writing to you as a proud Carmel High alumni, class of 2000. CHS holds a special place in my heart. It allowed me to grow as a student, athlete, leader, and person, and gave me the honor of serving as class president, environmental commissioner, and school board rep. Hi, everyone. 20 years on, my classmates remain some of my closest friends, and I've been privileged to meet hundreds of inspiring Carmel students as a staffer on the ROP desert trips. Respectively, looking back, I realized that my friends and I were always proud to represent CHS despite the Padre mascot. I think most of us always suspected something was off, whether it was trivializing the mission's impact on the indigenous people or the strangeness of a Franciscan priest as a public school symbol, or both. We did not take it up as a cause then, but perhaps we should have. Regardless, this moment in America represents a unique chance to turn the page towards more just and inclusive future. Changing the mascot is admittedly a small step. It is not a substitute for hard work that has been done day by day. For this reason, I was initially hesitant when I was invited to sign the petition. However, I realized that something as small as a mascot can be a powerful signature of a broader commitment and a reminder that we have the capacity and duty to rethink old assumptions. Bill Farrington, former student CHS. I submit the mascot name of CHS to be changed to something other than Padres who enslaved Native Americans. How about condors? Erica Ligren, alumni. It is my understanding that our history textbooks are responsible for so many alumni not comprehending why changing the Padre mascot is an ethically smart move. Perhaps we are better educated on the history of genocide and assimilation in the Americas. We would not be as challenged by this idea. Chris Simon, alumni. I feel embarrassed to be an alumni of the school with such dated mascot. There's nothing to celebrate about colonialism. It's just like the Washington Redskins, the Atlanta Braves, etc. Be on the right side of history here and get rid of the least cool mascot any school ever had. There's nothing even remotely mascot worthy about the subjugation and conversation of the native people of California. Nicole Cushman, alumni. I am writing to express my support for changing the Carmel High School mascot. Historically, California schools have taught a sanitized version of the history of Spanish missionaries, glossing over the cruelty inflicted on local indigenous groups. Fortunately, textbooks have evolved since I attended Carmel River Middle and High School, and students now learn more accurate versions of events. It is incongruence that we continue to lionize missionaries by elevating the Padre as our mascot. Furthermore, utilizing a symbol of Catholic Church to represent a public school is blatantly inappropriate. Growing up as a Jewish kid in Carmel, I never felt comfortable with the overtly religious symbol. Lastly, Title IX requires gender equity in athletics and other school-sponsored programs and activities. An exclusively male symbol cannot achieve such parity. It is not a matter of school spirit. I proudly represented CHS as a cheerleader, student government representative, peer counselor, math lead, and many more roles. I am still proud alumni, but believe we deserve a mascot that matches our true rich legacy, not one that besmirches its celebrating the genocide of indigenous people. Guru Darshan Singh Kalasa, alumni. Thank you for taking time to hear out this topic of changing the religious mascot of Carmel High School. Imagine a mascot that was intentionally selected with exclusivity as the forefront of concern for all students who walk the halls of a great school. In short, the Padre is a religious symbol that has no place being a mascot of a public school. I would imagine this would end the debate regardless of the Padre's historical ties to, in parentheses, the oppressive, Father Junipero Serra and the area. The Padre clearly pays homage to the peninsula's history with the Spanish missionaries, specifically Father Junipero Serra, who led the Spanish colonization in which Native Americans prohibited from practicing their customs and religion were systematically oppressed. In my time at CHS, class of 2000, I struggled to identify with the Padre as any mascot. It was confusing to me that a religious symbol would be the mascot of a public school, a religion that is not inclusive of my family's religious views. At my school that I cherished, I voiced my concerns then, and no one was keen on listening to me. I was honestly surprised to see this petition to start to change the mascot, as I felt that I was the only one at the time who was affected by this Catholic priest mascot who excluded the religion I followed. Imagine the feeling of competing at our school while my fellow classmates cheered "Go Padres," knowing that isn't me. Of course, that feeling of being alone was unfounded based on the people who are asking for their voices to be heard now. Those of us who were not included because of the symbol. If you can't imagine what that'd be like, then I would hope that you would listen to those of us who were and are affected by the use of current Catholic priest mascot. I understand that the wave of momentum and the dangers of discarding a culture. However, from my perspective, culture is only created by the victorious. If the missionaries had lost their oppressive religious crusade, then the names and the stories would be very different and reflect more truth than what was hidden from our education. I hope as we learn, we can grow. I know that together we can do better. My hope is that from this day on, we can become victorious, creating a new culture that is inclusive of being with a new mascot. I appreciate you taking my concerns along with the concerns of many current and past alumni into consideration for the decision to stand for inclusion. Kim Graham, Carmel native. I think we should keep the Padre mascot because it's history, our history, my sisters, nephews, nieces, aunts, uncles, cousins, even my parents' history. Please leave well enough alone and let it be. When does this all stop? I'm proud to say I'm a CHS Padre. Kim Smith, resident. The Carmel High School Padre mascot needs to stay. When will this madness end? Carmel is a place of peace. Let's not join the madness, but set an example for all who see us. Lauren Banner, alumni. Changing the name Padre, do it. Religion has no role in a public school, especially its name and mascot. A small cartoon priest does not inspire. Have an image that is inclusive and not tied to a very horrible past. Janet Nason, community member. What does the Padre symbolize to CUSD? Is it not appropriate to have a religious figure? It is not appropriate to have a religious figure as a public school mascot, especially a mascot that represents immense harm and tragedy in California history. CUSD is home to many different cultures and religions, and I believe it is long overdue to find a mascot that represents that diversity. And as a descendant of the local indigenous tribe, I have a deep connection to the mission and many of my ancestors lived and died at Carmel Mission under the enslavement of Father Junipero Serra. So the Padre is a hurtful image. The genocide to California Indians yet has to be addressed. And CUSD has a responsibility to advocate for change and healing and reconciliation for California Indian. Evelyn Lavallee, alumni and past employee. Thank you for taking the time to grapple with the issues surrounding the Padre as a mascot to represent Carmel High School and its students. Although the Padre may have been approved or met the requirements for a mascot in 1941, times have changed. We now know much more about the history of the Padres in California. The question now is, does the Padre meet mascot requirements and authentically represent all students, staff, and community members of Carmel High School? I understand that many people are attached to their memories from high school. I am too, but retiring the Padre mascot will not remove the fond memories of CHS for alums like myself. The Padre can and always will be the mascot in memories of alums. Our yearbook will not be erased. That said, it would be selfish of alums clinging to an antiquated mascot to overlook the opportunity for current students to gain the mascot that is inclusive and celebratory rather than divisive and intolerant. The hard truth is that Padre is sexist, racist, and a religious mascot. How does the mascot affect students who are not Catholic, which is most of the school? How does it affect girls who are not all represented by the Padre? A lady Padre is not a thing. How does it affect Native American students? Unfortunately, for many students, the history books did not teach the full story behind the colonization of indigenous people in California. We instead happily built missions in 4th grade with little literature and no discussions about the lives of people affected by the colonization. Now the world has evolved and CHS has a chance to evolve with it, to be forward-thinking and inclusive school that community members and parents want. For Carmel High School to continue to represent itself with a mascot associated with enslavement, rape, genocide, and forced conversion to Catholicism would be retrograde and tone deaf. Even for people who deny or do not care about history, it is safe to say a Catholic priest as a mascot in public school is just wrong. I hope that community, we can recognize the many levels of exclusion that our current mascot represents. By keeping this mascot, we send a harmful message about CHS. By keeping this mascot, we admit that CHS is devoid of understanding, empathy, and inclusion. When you know better, you do better. I hope the district can rise to a higher standard and pave the way for other schools who also need to make a change. I want all schools, all students to feel welcomed, included, and represented by the mascot at Carmel High School. This is a school I was proud to attend, but the mascot did not represent me. I know CHS can do better. Molly Smith, or Males, is it Maley Smith or Molly Smith, community member and alumni. I support the proposal to reimagine the CHS mascot. I will start by noting that permanent displays of religious symbols on public school property violate current interpretations of the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. But putting that aside, the time has come to reflect on CHS mission statement and standards of good character and demonstrate commitment to their ideals. Reimagining the Padre mascot, not a huge gesture, but it could have a very positive impact on some of our fellow alumni and future students whose ancestors were nearly annihilated and the culture historically devalued. Indigenous populations continue to be oppressed and victimized horribly in the US. Natives suffer even more violence at the hands of law enforcement than Black Americans. We also know that these types of subtle biases and insensitive imaginary can indeed contribute to trauma and feeling of exclusion. CHS has the opportunity to use this as a true teaching moment to listen and learn from marginalized groups and ethnic cultural minorities who quite frankly have never been valued in our school as much as the dominant culture, white Christians. A symbol, even a fat jolly one that many seen as benign, has no place in our schools if it denigrates any of our students. To quote another community member who said it eloquently, let's not bury our past, but let's move forward, level up, if you will, to a more honorable place. Canyon, Coyote, Woman, Sayers, Roods, Indigenous Community. Mismin to his good day. From the Mutsun Oaline relative. This mascot is a character of a one-sided narrative of history that is reflective of a genocidal narrative that isn't even thoroughly taught in schools. I, as a California Indigenous educator, am still confronted with youth and teachers who know nothing about the truth and history of California natives and the impact of settler colonialism, knowing little about the ethological impact that the Spaniards, Mexicans, and Gold Rush era settlers have had on the land and history of the cultures impacted. I visit classrooms talking about genocide and rape of the California Indigenous people whenever the school is engaged in their curriculum around the missions. This is not only spiritual tolling, but problematic when it comes to the inadequate measures of having a comprehensive curriculum that is inclusive and just. I am support of the name change. I'm also supportive of giving your community an accurate reason as to why the name change is so prevalent in these times. Many community members will voice frustration in this choice, speaking and taking action in reaction. I find it important that if a name change occurs, that due diligence around honoring truth in history is a priority. Cynthia Machado Scardina, alumni. I went to CUSD from K to graduation class of 1970. I am for keeping the Padre mascot. During my years at CHS, I had a mom who worked 25 years for the school district and many cousins who graduated from CHS in 62, 68, 70, and children who went to CHS. I'm also a Native American from the Carmel mission, as I have a family buried there. I personally was never treated badly as the ancestors were, so I believe in moving forward while learning history. And I believe the Padre mascot has no connection to Father Sarah. He's just a mascot. We were all proud of whether we won at a football, basketball, or track, swimming, etc. I would like to know how many that are against the Padre even went to CUSD and how they would like us to change their school mascot when we didn't attend their school. Only my opinion. The other topic that I'm going to read is Tiffany Lyon, parent. We love that CUSD communicates with its families. A couple of changes would be very appreciated and would make a positive change towards consideration of recipients of phone calls and texts. 1, please do not send an automated phone call text prior to 10 a.m. weekdays during the summer. While you may be working, others are sleeping. We have already unsubscribed from text and would rather not miss a phone call should there be a school emergency. 2, please do not send out automated action items on a Friday after your office is closed. In some instances, such as an error on your part, it has caused stress over an entire weekend. It can wait until Monday. Thank you for making the efforts to communicate with us. That's it.
Thank you, Tricia. Well done. So noted. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move the agenda item forward, and it's going to put us at item 5, which is the consent calendar. All matters listed under consent are considered by the board to be routine and will be enacted by the board in one motion by roll call. There'll be no discussion of these items prior to the board vote on a motion unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for discussion. The superintendent staff recommend approval of all of the consent calendar items. So having read that, does the board have any comments or concerns about any of the items on consent?
I'll make a motion to move the consent calendar.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Moved and seconded, Tricia?
Board President Carl Palestrini,
Yes.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Member Annette Eastek,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 6, special reports and appearances, none at this time. And item 7, communications to the board. Well, we have certainly heard quite a bit of that tonight. Item 8, these are action, discussion, and information items. And we're going to go ahead and start with item A, which is the Carmel Unified School District COVID-19 operations written report by our Chief Academic Officer, Blaise DiGirolamo. Blaise?
Yeah, hi, Carl. How are you?
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, so part of the requirements for this year, kind of because the LCAP is not taking place as normal, was for each school district to complete this report for the state, the COVID-19 written operations report, to really kind of explain the story of what the district did during the spring of this last year. And so this report is simply something that the board would approve. It tells our story, there's certain questions here that are asked, and we wrote and surveyed all of our folks that were part of all these answers, put it here. It's something that's approved by the board. It's placed on our website, and then it goes to the county, not for approval like the LCAP. They just house it at the county and submit it to the state. So it's a little different than our LCAP, where we'd have to have it approved as well. So it literally is a telling of our story of this spring of 2020 and the COVID-19 operations in our school district.
Okay, any comments or questions from the board? Okay, we would need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the CUSD COVID-19 operations written report by Blaise DiGirolamo, Chief Academic Officer.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Roll call. Tricia?
Board President Carl Palestrini,
Yes.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Member Annette Eastek,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So moved. Item B, fiscal year 2021 budget adoption and excess reserves. That would be Yvonne, our Chief Business Officer. Yvonne Perez, is she available?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Yvonne, all yours.
Okay, thank you. So we provided at the public hearing at the last board meeting information regarding the budget. There has not been any information that's changed. So I'm requesting that the board adopt the budget as presented, the 2021 fiscal year budget is presented, and also the statement of excess reserves.
Motion to adopt the 2021 budget as presented.
Before we do it, any questions from the board about the budget? None. Okay, go ahead, Tess.
Motion to adopt the 2021 budget as presented.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded.
Board President Carl Palestrini,
Yes.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur,
Yes.
Board Member Annette Eastek,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So moved. Item C, 2021 salary schedules for all employees, and that again would be Yvonne.
Yes, thank you. So once again, we've attached all of the salary schedules for the district, and the salary schedules reflect the negotiated agreement of a 2.5% increase in pay. And we've carefully calculated that and requesting approval for the salary schedules as presented.
Questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion? Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2020-2021 salary schedules for all employees.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded.
Board President Carl Palestrini,
Yes.
Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Member Annette Eastek,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver.
Yes.
Thank you. Item D, repayment agreement, classified employees. Yvonne?
Yes, this is a repayment agreement for a classified employee who is overpaid. We have reached an agreement with that employee to pay back a portion of the overpayment of $968.44, and I'm requesting approval.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Board President Carl Palestrini,
Yes.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Member Annette Eastek,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver.
Yes.
Thank you. Item E, a border local area network, 40 voice soft client licenses. That would be Paul Bean, our Director of Technology.
Thank you, Carl. This one and the next 6 items are all related to items that were on the budget you just approved, and they were presented at your previous budget study sessions. This particular one is a last piece for the phone systems. It's actually being installed this week. It should be completed this weekend and the beginning of next week. And these soft voices will be helpful if we do have to continue to work from home, because it allows like a staff person to call from home or receive a call from their office without anybody knowing that, you know, what their cell phone number was. And it's kind of smooth communication. They're able to use their extension, for example, to receive calls. And the budget's already approved with the overall phone budget that you previously approved.
And Paul, are the items all the way through K all aligned with the previous budget that we've already discussed?
Everything
Okay.
is in the budget that has been previously discussed.
So, and the reason I'm asking is if we are able to then lump that all into one motion.
I don't think so. I think we have to approve them individually.
Okay, thanks, Carl.
Yeah.
I think I can do them in 20 minutes or less each. That should take us only, less than 2 hours. Todd, shouldn't be a problem.
It's thanks,
Thank
Paul.
Let's go ahead and proceed. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to move, yes.
You have to make the motion. What is it, Todd?
On item E, Borderland 44 soft client licenses.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
Tricia.
Board President Carl Palestrini,
Yes.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Member Annette Eastek,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur. Tess, I think you froze.
Did we hear from Tess or not?
You lost.
Tess, did you say yes? I'm sorry.
Yes, sorry, I lost contact for a second.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you. Paul, item F, Virtru Email encryption,
Are there any questions about this one?
none.
I'll
No.
make a motion.
Approval of Virtue
approve.
email encryption.
I'll
As-
second.
Board President Cara
Oh,
Palestrini,
wait, hold on, just a minute. Let's get the motion down first. I know we want to move along. Annette, what was the motion?
To approve the Virtue email encryption.
Okay, and do we have a second? Todd?
Yes, that was me. Second.
Okay, thank you. Roll call.
Board President Cara Palestrini,
Yes.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Member Annette Eastek,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur.
Yes.
Thank you. We have to read them into the record so that they're coherent, folks. And sometimes we get a little ahead of ourselves. Item G is borderland, again, the firewall and the client manager and analyzer, Paul.
Any questions on this one? This is a security item for us.
I'll make a motion to approve the Borderland Firewall Client Manager and Analyzer.
Second.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Roll call.
Board President Cara Palestrini,
Yes.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Member Annette Eastek,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur.
Yes.
Thank you. Item H, IP Solutions Extreme Campus Agreement, Paul.
Yes, this is related to managing all our switches and wireless access points that are made by Extreme.
Okay. Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the IP Solutions Extreme Campus Agreement.
Second.
Thank you. Richard?
Board President Cara Palestrini,
Yes.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Member Annette Eastek,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur.
Yes.
Thank you. Item I, SysCloud, G Suite and Office 365 Backup Security and Compliance. Paul?
Yep, this product will give us online access. Well, actually, it's the backup of Office 365 in security, where it monitors things like if people are passing social security numbers and that sort of thing. So it will alert us if there's anything that's being shared that shouldn't be shared, things like that.
Thank you. Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the SysCloud, G Suite, and Office 365 Backup Security and Compliance.
And a second?
I'll second.
Tricia?
Board President Cara Palestrini,
Yes.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Member Annette Eastek,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur.
Yes.
Okay, so moved. Item J, no before master agreement, quote, it looks like a 3-year term. Paul?
This will help prevent phishing. It'll send actual sample phishing messages to staff and report on who fell for it. And if they do fall for it, it'll offer them additional training so they are not a potential liability to the district in terms of keeping our information confidential and secure.
Thanks. Any questions? If not, a motion?
Motion to adopt the technology, IT, and student services software to provide staff phishing and security awareness training.
Second?
I'll second.
Second.
Thank you. Tricia?
Board President Cara Palestrini,
Yes.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Member Annette Eastek,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, item A, Paul. Thank you for the brief summary of each one of those. It's important.
Yeah.
Get a sense of what it is.
Yeah, this one is to allow for Office, which is things like Microsoft Word, Excel, and so on, to be remotely accessed along with Windows 10. The enterprise mobility allows us to manage things like in the setting that we've been in where the employees are working off campus. Right now, we don't have the ability to monitor that. That would be an additional feature. And as a little bonus, they've got Minecraft, an educational version for students.
Wow, that is a plus. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Soft Choice Microsoft Azure AD Office 365 3-year contract.
Second.
Second.
Thank
Second.
you.
Board President Cara Palestrini,
Yes.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Member Annette Eastek,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur.
Yes.
Thanks again, Paul.
Thank you,
Thanks, Paul.
board.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Going to move to item L that has to do with Me Earth, extension to the facility use agreement, and that would be Yvonne.
Yes, I'm requesting that the board approve the agreement to extend the current agreement to September 9th of 2020 in order to give us some time to continue some conversations with Me Earth. They will continue to do property management, so there is $5,720 through the extension of this agreement. And we hope to bring a final agreement to the board at the September board meeting.
Thanks, Yvonne. That's a good brief summary there. Tess?
I just had a quick question. Is there a goal to increase the contract for more than 1 year, Yvonne? Or is this still going to be a potential 1 year contract?
Right, that is something that the Director of Earth and I, Ben and I have been talking about along with the superintendent. And so, yes, absolutely. That is something that we've been looking forward to doing. Yes.
That's a good
Thank
question.
you.
Hey, Tess, did we end up getting consensus or anything from the board on that discussion point? Because I know that was one that we were discussing at the open meeting with Me Earth. But maybe you can summarize where we settled in on that, or did we settle in on that from our board?
Yeah, let me help a little.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Carl.
The problem for Me Earth, problem for the district Yvonne outlined is we have to get this contract extension in place to cover the liabilities for both parties.
Mm-hmm.
The problem for Me Earth has been the 1 year agreement in terms of grant writing. And over their 20-year history, it's been a 1 year. So I think what we've done here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Yvonne, but I think we've kind of shown intent and understanding for term, not necessarily the actual monetary agreements and arrangements between the district and Me Earth, but certainly the term of the lease. Does that capture that?
It does. Thanks, Carl.
Okay. Motion?
I'd like to thank Yvonne for all of her hard work with Me Earth. I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to moving forward with them in a productive way. So thank you so much, Yvonne. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the Me Earth extension to facility use agreement.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Board President Carl Palestrini,
Yes.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Member Annette Eastek,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur.
Yes.
Again, thank you, Yvonne, for that. We got item M, resolution number 20-26, California State Preschool, number CSPP-0314, and it looks like Blaze and Laura for this one.
Yeah, so this is our annual agreement with the state of California. This provides subsidized preschool for 3 and 4 year olds, needy 3 and 4 year olds in our district, run through our child development centers. So this is an annual contract we enter into with the state, and you see many of those adjustments when they recalculate the values. We do that often during the year. So this is that initial contract for the year.
Okay. Motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the resolution number 20-26, California State Preschool, number CSPP-0314.
Second.
Tricia?
Board President Carl Palestrini,
Yes.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Member Annette Eastek,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur.
Yes.
Thank you. Item N, resolution number 20-27, education protection account. That's the EPA. Yvonne?
Yes, this is an annual resolution that's required by the state that requires us to provide how we are spending Prop 30 funds. And so I'm requesting approval of this resolution.
Move approval of resolution number 20-27 regarding the education protection account.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded.
Board President Carl Palestrini,
Yes.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Member Annette Eastek,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur.
Yes.
Yeah. Item O, resolution number 20-28, recognizing and honoring WeatherTech Laguna Seca Raceway for the Carmel High School graduation. That would be Tricia.
Yes, we developed this resolution so that the board could take this opportunity to recognize and thank the WeatherTech Laguna Seca Raceway, and especially a shout out to John Narigi, who is their general manager, who worked with all of our district, our high school, to put on a fantastic graduation in spite of the obvious challenges. And so it was a great event. I know a lot of you were there. And so this is your opportunity to give a thanks to that situation. They gave the raceway to us for free that evening.
Yeah, terrific. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve resolution number 20-28, recognizing and honoring WeatherTech Laguna Seca Raceway, and a big thank you to them for the opportunity, for such a wonderful opportunity for graduation during this time.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded.
Board President Carl Palestrini,
Yes.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Member Annette Eastek,
Yes.
Board Member Todd Weaver,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur.
Yes.
So moved. Item P, Community Human Services Joint Powers 2020-2021 allocation. Tricia?
So this is an agreement that comes forward to the board every year from the Community Human Services Joint Powers. And this year they are asking that our district increase the amount of monies that we give to that organization to $7,700. In the current year, 1920, we paid $7,500. And so they're asking for an increase of $200 for the coming school year. I'm sorry, I think you're muted, Carl.
That wasn't me, but anyway, here I am. On this particular item, we have a long history with Community Human Services, and it certainly is not a very, in my opinion, a very significant increase. So there it is. We did run across a rather somewhat unusual situation in that our representative, Annette Steck, who's been with them for, I'm not going to even guess how long, a long time, they have named their school reps as board members. And so because they have established them in a category of a board member, they have to recuse themselves from the vote, but certainly not the discussion. So, Annette, is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, I will add on, as I looked at the listing of the different entities and how much was received and requested over the years, I just want to give everyone a little bit of background on how the allocation has been created historically, and the fact that Carmel Unified, way back when, I don't know when the first time was that they created the JPA allocation, probably before I got on their board.
Yeah.
But presumably it was created based on, approximately a historical usage of or benefit to that particular entity. And remember that this entity doesn't just provide services that are for school age people. They are for adults as well, and for families. And we are a member of this JPA, as is every school district on the peninsula and many in Salinas and other parts of the county as well. And the reason why we're a part of this JPA is to create benefit to our entire community. And we joined all together to do that. whenever the original time was that the allocations were created, I don't think I was involved. I may have been involved at some point to re-look at some of those allocations. But whenever that time was it was many, I mean, decades ago, probably at least 20 years ago. What has happened since then is that there's an annual increase typically based on the CPI of the Bay Area, and then it's rounded to some number nearby. And over the years, Carmel Unified has been very good about always approving whatever that allocation was every year. And in some cases, other entities did not. And so our allocation, which was originally based on, something that probably made sense, seems out of whack as I look at that list. And I think, and that is the main reason. There have been years, in fact, that some entities where, for instance, MPC, Monterey Peninsula College, they chose not to make any allocation increase. In fact, I think they may have done some decreases because they were cutting their salaries by something like 10%, and they didn't want to do any increase. And so what happens in that case is our allocation, although, fairly minimal every year, has tended to grow because we've done our share. And I think we should be proud of that, honestly, because doing something for the community as a whole is not, I don't know, I guess myself personally, I wouldn't be embarrassed about that. So I just wanted to try to explain that and see if there was any kind of questions from, my fellow board members as to that, how that happened, or any other questions.
Well, here's your chance, board, to weigh in if you have comments.
I just have a comment. I fully support what they do, and I feel like we have no clue going into this next school year how many more families are going to be needing support. So I think it's something that we should be proud of. And so yes, I definitely support it.
Hey, Carl, I have just a point of order and clarification. Because I'm the alternate for CHS, where I get the emails and the agenda and everything else, but Annette has attended all the meetings so far. Does that mean that I should recuse myself from the vote as well because I'm the alternate? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a really good question. I would think that the board member that hasn't done the attendance is the one that has been actively involved in the role should be the one that is recused. And since you have had no contact or participation, I would think you would be okay at this point. Although, it's a really good question.
Yeah. Only because I get all the materials.
Yeah.
Because
you have no history of.
And obviously, if I do feel like if I were to have attended a single meeting, then maybe it would be a little bit clearer. But it's still isn't exactly clear to me. So I wanted to ask.
It's a good question. I'm going to have to echo both Annette and Tessa's comments about it personally. I think that it's a wonderful organization. I also think that, Annette's 20 plus year involvement with them is also very significant in terms of appreciation from the school board because they do good things. And it's not a lot of money. And the explanations as to how they, kind of raise the suggested contribution by the COLA or the CIP, cost of living index, price index, is reasonable. Somehow, though, they have named their school liaison representatives as board members, and I think I can see why they might have done that, but it does create sort of a duplicitous role. And it's so much easier just to accept that and move forward. So if anyone else has comments, that's fine. Otherwise, we would need a motion.
I would suggest that Todd not vote just in case, because I don't want it to affect our ability to have this go forward. I mean, frankly, I voted in the past though. So anyway, but I just want to make sure, since we've been told this, I don't know how the rule applies, Todd. So that I just think, since we have 3 board members who are on besides us, that it might make sense to have the 3 of them.
I'm fine with recusing myself and then on this vote.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good point, but you have not played an active role with them, and that's the only reason why I would have said, it's a little different, because you can't have, you can only have 1 representative there. But it's good advice, and we do have a quorum. Without
And Poncho, can you please repost the agenda? Because I don't have a hard copy in front of me. So I would like to make a motion. I can't see the top of, I can't see the, okay. So I would like to make a motion to approve the Community Human Services Joint Powers 2020-2021 allocation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Roll call.
Board President Carl Palestrini,
Yes.
Board Member Tess Arthur,
Yes.
Board Clerk Sarah Hines.
Yes.
Okay, so moved.
Can I make a suggestion though, that's kind of related to this whole thing? Is I think it might be worthwhile us clarifying the ruling that we've gotten about whether, even though we are called board members for Community Human Services, just to clarify that we're not allowed to participate in that, because I believe that all the other entities, they vote. And also I would like to broaden this beyond Community Human Services, because we have gotten the I don't know who gave us the ruling that we're not allowed, we as board members are not allowed to serve on other boards of things that are related to Carmel Unified. And I think that that is something that we need to revisit, because this is something I think normally you want school board members to be able to represent themselves on other JPAs. In this case, this is a Joint Powers Authority. There are maybe nonprofit boards, etc., that we've been told we are not allowed to do. I don't know who that came from exactly, but I think it might be worthwhile our doing research on that before we decide that from now on, this has to be the way it is.
I completely agree with you on that. Completely agree. Because I was told that I needed to get off of the Carmel High School Foundation board that I absolutely love serving.
Right.
And so I would agree with that.
And it's just a matter of doing research on this, I believe, and finding out why we can't, if we indeed can't, and if we can, explaining to us how we can serve, in what manner we can serve, because I believe that that is something that would be helpful to all of us, because we want to be involved in the community, and it's not really fair for community leaders such as ourselves to be banned if we're not allowed, if we aren't, if there isn't such a real prohibition, or if there is one, explain to us why. And I think that that would be useful for everyone. I think there are things that I think that would be really useful for us to figure out.
Well, let me help you a little bit. This is the only liaison where it's a contractual agreement with the district. It involves money going through our business office. And that is the trigger on this particular item. And maybe it was very similar for Tess in terms of her involvement with the Carmel High School Foundation. It creates a duplicitous relationship of support in terms of, I'll give you another example, me being the past president of Me Earth. While I was elected as a board member, while Me Earth is in contract negotiations with the district. You see what I mean? So that's the trigger on it. It didn't just come from anywhere. It also came from advice from legal on it. Now, having said that, I'm fine with pursuing it and digging around a little bit deeper on it, and finding out more about it. But I can certainly see when it involves a contractual relationship where they're actually, it's turned into invoicing the district for the money, which is not a lot. It is, in the eyes of some, could be conceived as a possible conflict of interest. That was the information I was given from our legal.
I think we should
We
do
will.
ourselves some, it doesn't hurt to look into it further.
will.
And just the word duplicitous to me, Carl,
Mhm.
implies that there's some kind of underhandedness in this. And I believe that that's certainly not the case in any of those, examples that you gave.
Mhm.
And that Tess brought up as well. And I just think we need to clarify it. That's all.
Well, I'm agreeing with you 100%.
Perfect.
All I'm doing is reacting to a request to look into it. That was the information and the advice I was given when I asked.
Perfect.
And I think we do. I think we do. And I think maybe it would be a good idea for Community Human Services to look into it as well in terms of their designation as a board
Sure.
member. And what does that mean?
Yeah. I mean, if it's the name board member, that's the only problem, then, I think we should just look into it so we know.
We're
Yeah.
going to do it. And it passed. And I think we're all behind it. But it does
Oh,
raise a good legal sort of perspective in terms of, actually, it's just the optics, as one of my fellow board members.
I just want to clear up the optics. That's all I'm saying. And I want to make sure that it might be, for instance, like being on, the parent clubs, being a member of parent clubs, and can you be an officer? Can you not? I think that these are kind of along those same lines. And I think just getting a clarification might be worthwhile for us.
We're going to do it. We've already reached that consensus. So
yep. That's all I wanted to point out. Thank you,
I think
everyone.
it's a good one. So that motion passed. And now we are at finally item 9, board ops. And this would be a place for future topics.
I appreciate the schedule that we have upcoming. And I just wanted to make a suggestion, given all of the letters that we got, our comments tonight, and that we've been getting, and emails, etc. I wanted to just make a suggestion that we agendize a possible addition to our budget, which we already just passed, but one that would help us with communications. And I think that, especially in this year, as we are dealing with very delicate communications, and despite the fact that everything is going to be very costly as we move forward to open school, I think communicating well may serve us well. So I just want to have that on an agenda so we can talk about maybe considering that as an item on for action to add to our budget in this next year.
I think it's a good suggestion, especially in terms of being able to look at our options in terms of how we would do that, in terms of costs and everything else. But I think we get it on there pretty quick. It's a request and makes sense.
Thank you.
Any others?
Well, I'll back up Annette. We obviously had a communications role on an agenda item not too long ago. And I think that it'd be great to either, if nothing more than just to revisit that conversation would be great. So I'm all for that as soon as possible.
I think we'll just go ahead and agenda setting and put it back on and take it from the point.
Okay, thanks, Carl. I'll also, I'd like to emphasize again that the plan for next year is obviously something that if we're able to have a special board meeting prior to the next regularly scheduled board meeting, and instead of agendizing for July 22nd, approval of the plan presented by the district, if there is a plan that is ready before that, that we look to have a special board meeting to specifically discuss and try to expedite that, primarily so we can end up communicating that to the district and the community as soon as possible.
It's another good idea, but I think that one is probably going to be more in the domain of the acting superintendent at this point in time, depending on progress to date. So I think what we have to do there, it's a good idea, Todd, because I'm also concerned about timelines, but I think the person that's most concerned about them is the one that was probably should be weighing in on this, and maybe not right at the moment, perhaps after the town hall tomorrow evening. You know, Todd, it might open up some doors that where that is going to be a better idea than just a good one, if you follow what I'm saying. So let's get out of that town hall. And
yep, I want to be clear, Carl, I'm not requesting to have the special board meeting because we don't know the date yet. As soon, if there is some plan approved before the 22nd, or a plan presented before the 22nd, I would like to have that advanced as a potential special board meeting so that we can expedite that as quickly as possible.
I hear you, but I think it's something we can't really say at this point. It's something that I think we have to we've got a key meeting coming up, and we can't commit to it, is all I'm saying. I think the idea is good, and if it's needed, we can always do it. I think it's the best we can do with it, at this point, unless somebody else has a better idea.
You are answering what I'm after, which is if we're available, if it's available, we'll do it. Thank you.
You got it. Absolutely. Okay, board. On that note, I'm just going to close. If there's anybody still out there, probably very few, dial us in tomorrow night. It's a very important meeting. And thank you for joining us. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.